No surprise upset is expected, as according to the latest average of Real Clear polling, former President Donald Trump leads former UN ambassador and South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley by more than 25 points. Jamison Taylor is Director of Policy and Legislative Affairs at AFA Action, the political arm of the American Family Association. He says Haley knows she's not going to win.
It looks like Donald Trump is going to win big in South Carolina. And that raises the question of, if Nikki Haley can't even win in South Carolina, where can she win? And likewise, thinking about why can't Nikki Haley win in South Carolina? And I think it's because the people of South Carolina don't particularly remember anything that she did as governor. As governor, she did nothing of consequence except get behind an effort to change the state flag.
And Taylor predicts a big win in South Carolina will propel Trump forward to the Michigan primary on February 27th and Super Tuesday, March 5th.
I think voters in Michigan, and certainly voters on Super Tuesday, already know that Donald Trump is the guy. They already know that we need a leader who's going to get out front on issues and give it everything that he has. And that is clearly Donald Trump. And that's exactly why the left hates him. They know that he is the only real conservative leader out there.
I'm Chad Groening.
Missouri Republican Representative Eric Schmidt spoke to Fox News about how he believes President Biden is doing wrong by many Americans by forgiving student loans.
It's a slap in the face to working America, to middle-class families, to the people that paid back their student loans, the people who made different life decisions or decided not to take out loans or work their way through college. I mean, it's totally ridiculous. And he's at it again, and he's at a cynical ploy here to try to buy votes.
Previous attempts by Biden to forgive student loan debt were disallowed by the courts. Several illegal aliens in Chicago are due in court after being arrested for robbing and beating a man on a train. Madeline Rivera has more.
The 4 suspects are expected to appear in court for their bond hearings on Monday. Chicago police say these 4 men are facing charges of robbery and aggravated battery and strangulation for allegedly robbing and beating a 49-year-old man on a Chicago train. They gave their address as a city-run migrant shelter, but Chicago police did not confirm their legal status or legal address. Separately, another migrant from Venezuela was cited earlier this month after allegedly trespassing at O'Hare International Airport.
And finally, cleanup efforts are ramping up after a fuel spill in Alaska. More from Tom Graham.
The U.S. Coast Guard has taken over the response to a diesel fuel spill in the western Alaskan village of Kwigillingok. The State Department of Environmental Conservation estimates nearly 9,000 gallons have leaked, and there are fears it could creep into a river that runs into the Bering Sea. Investigators say the leak occurred at a fuel tank farm and was first discovered on February 8th. Tom Graham, Fox News.
More news online at AFN.net and download the AFN mobile app for your Apple or Android device. I'm Rusty Pugh.
Well, good evening, everyone, everywhere. You're listening to Nicholas on First Amendment Radio. This is Far Out with me, Nick at Night. Yes, and I'm following my own program, a rebroadcast of Wednesday's program on this Saturday night. So, 4 hours of me in a row. Who would ever thunk it? But this is live. If you're listening to First Amendment Radio Live or any of the streams out there that we got going out all over the place, it's live. I'm in the studio, and the studio cam is on. The chat rooms are open, and I'm looking at the Rumble, the YouTube, and the First Amendment Radio chat rooms. So, or you can text me. There's a text number on the screen right below my chin. You can text directly into the broadcast and make any comments that way. Also, I'm taking calls on Skype. If you want to Skype Nicholas Arthur, and hopefully everything will work right. It's been a while since I've had anyone come in by Skype, so if you try that, I'm pretty sure I can get you on, but you might have to be patient for a few minutes with me. Okay. Let's see, what do we got today? Well, let's start out with the lighter side as we usually do with the Babylon Bee. Okay. Get a load of these insane Christian nationalists who believed rights come from God and not the government. You're not going to believe this. Check out the list of radical Christian nationalists who believe inalienable human rights are endowed on them by some sort of higher power. Yeah, they said the creator, a creator or something like that, and not by the federal government. Read more. Of course, we have a picture here of the First Continental Congress, or the whatever it was, where they signed the Constitutional Convention. That's what they would call it. Okay, let's read a little bit more on this story. Okay, the internet is actually working. What? Oh, yes, hear the gate crashing out in front. We'll ignore it for now. And let me just check my stream strength here. Yes, everything is going full speed. Anyway, oops, they stuck an ad on here. How do I get rid of this now? Let's see. What? Oh, it went away. Okay. Whew. Okay, get a load of these Christian nationalists who believe rights come from God and not the government. Anybody else out there? You're not going to believe this? It says, check it out. Oh, this idiot named John Locke. He looks a little gaunt, doesn't he? Must not be his best picture. Of course, it seems to be from a painting. It says, this loser thought liberty came from the law of nature and wasn't subject to legislative authority of man, whatever that means. Rights come from the government. Everyone knows that. Next. Total loser, Thomas Jefferson. Just look at the unhinged insanity in the eyes of this deranged radical. Yeah. Okay. This stupid thing called the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Yeah, I'm not going to read the rest of that. Let's see. Some dummy named Thomas Paine. Paine claimed that every child born into the world must be considered as deriving its existence from God. Yeah, okay. Weirdo. That's what they're saying, the Babylon Bee. Of course, being facetious at every turn, as they should be. Next. Moron and inventor of lightning. Yeah, a Benjamin Franklin. Indeed. This creep said that liberty is derived from the laws of God. Put this one on an FBI watch list. He's about to storm the Capitol. Yeah. It's a wonder he didn't get arrested on January 6th, huh? Oh, moving on here. Oh, I guess that's all I got. Yeah. Just those 6 guys, huh? Or 5 guys, I should say. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch more that signed that document. Or the documents. Anyway, back. Let's see what they got next here. Excited Netflix writers turn to Google Gemini for new show ideas. Yeah. Yeah, guess that's a statement on the woke quality of their shows. Okay, moving on here. Video. Man in critical condition after hearing slightly different viewpoint. Yes, man exposed to slightly different opinion. Toxic. There you go. Google XX promised to do a better job of hiding their AI's racism. It looks like it must be have white privilege. Moving on. To calm complaining Israelites, God introduces new flamin' hot manna. Reminds me of that old Keith Green song, So You Want to Go Back to Egypt. How many of you remember that? Yeah. Scattered Sheep says, YouTube is way behind. Not your YouTube yet. Oh, not. Okay, well, I don't know what that means. Oh, not on my YouTube yet. Really? Huh. But it's on, even if it is behind, huh? Because I have it up here. Let me check, because I had to get the chat room. Ooh, well, yeah, I have to restart it, I think, to catch it up. This is what it means to be your own producer. Oh, looks like I'm there. Okay. Looks like it has caught up. News over here. Now that's funny. Yeah, you have to refresh your browser. Otherwise, you watch behind the times. Unless you mean to. It's not a good idea. Okay, to be confused. All right, next. Let's see what else we got. Mankind lands on moon for first time since Wallace and Gromit in 1989. Wallace and Gromit? Okay, well, I was hiding out up in the mountains in 1989. Pretty sure of that. Or was I? Where was I in 1989? Boy, the decades go by fast, don't they? Yeah. Stay-at-home mom lets loose. Mixes lights and darks on cold wash cycle. And, well, that's about as funny as it gets today. Some days are funnier than others with Babylon Bee. This is not one of their funnier days, I have to admit. And sometimes I just need a good laugh. Anybody heard any good jokes out there lately? Is there anybody else? Oh, good to see SMT in the chat room over there with Scattered Sheep. Yes, not Scattered Sheep, literally, but someone with the moniker Scattered Sheep. And she says, okay. Yeah. And, you know, the problem is I got strikes still pending on YouTube within 90 days. And they keep an eternal warning unless you take one of their courses, one of their indoctrination courses. And so today I decided, okay, well, I'm going to look at it. Maybe I can get rid of the perpetual warning, and maybe that they'll let people come to my channel. Maybe. I don't know. Because they said they were punishing me by leaving it on there. And that's on the First Amendment Radio YouTube channel. I'm still working off a strike on my other channel because they fall off after 90 days on my Prophecy Reality channel because I slipped and accidentally talked about my own experience with the dentists and taking antibiotics, etc. And I said some things that they didn't like. So they accused me of medical misinformation. Yes, for talking about my own experience. And then they gave me a strike. You're a bad boy. So anyway, today I took their, what did they call it? Indoctrination course. And they gave me one on hate speech. Okay. Now they've never they've never dinged me for hate speech. And actually, I agreed with everything that they said. But I think the problem is that they don't apply it equally, as most people who enforce hate speech. Most woke people are enforcing hate speech, but they don't apply it equally. If they did, then I'd be A-okay with it, because I don't think shaming people or shaming one people because of the color of their skin or where they're from or what state they're in, or because they're have a disability or whatever. I'm not cool with that any way you look at it. Yeah. So anyway, I took it and they said, okay, well, 90 days, we'll remove the warning. So it's still 90 days. So I'm still in YouTube jail on both of my channels. Yeah. Because I wonder, I've been doing this. I'm going, well, let's see. I started First Amendment Radio in 2003. And first 5 years, it was like, it was like growing like this every year. You call that exponential growth, where, you get 2 people, those 2 people tell 2 people, and you have 4 people, and those 4 people tell 4 other people, and now you got 4 people each. So you got, and then, so it's a multiplying exponential growth kind of thing that was going on until 2008, when Google introduced and they own YouTube now, Google does. And I wish they would have never bought YouTube. It's kind of like I wish that Skype was never sold to Windows. They didn't need more stuff. They had enough of the internet. And so did Alphabet. Google had enough. They didn't need to buy YouTube, but they did. And so they control everything on YouTube. And someone over there has pretty much put me on a list, because it doesn't matter what channel, how many channels I have, all of them are dead as a doornail. Yeah. I mean, on my Prophecy Reality channel, if I look on there on the dashboard, it says new subscribers -1 in the last 30 days, or I think it's the last 4 weeks or 30 days or whatever. So I'm -1. Of course, I am growing on the First Amendment Radio channel. I don't know why they just haven't kicked me off. Maybe because First Amendment's in my name. So maybe they're afraid to. I have no idea. But everything I do on Google, YouTube, Google, YouTube, Alphabet is squished and squashed. And sometimes I just wonder, why do I persist? Because I see people come on, are they better than me? Maybe even they are. But there are people worse than me. I've got to at least be mediocre. And even mediocre people do better than I do, don't they? But yeah, I see people come on, they do fairly well. I've never monetized anything on any of these channels. So, they're making, they're making money on all of my content with all the commercials. Gee, I was mixing chemical and commercial for some reason. Yeah, so if I look at that YouTube channel over there, and let's see. Gee, I wonder what that noise was. Oh, maybe that's I'm going into a break. No, I'm not going into a break. Gee, I heard a word sound. Oh, yeah, I have no idea. Let's see, battery full. Oh, that's what the sound is. And let's see, if I go to the YouTube dashboard here, I'll tell you what they say about me over here. YouTube Studio dashboard. Oh yes, current subscribers 3,152, and that's in like 20 years. Yeah, Anybody could do better than that with 20 years behind them of running First Amendment Radio. But I've only been live. I used to go live with First Amendment Radio on YouTube too. It used to be one of their live channels, but they kept giving me strikes. So, and stopping my stream. And so that's what's going on there. That's what I'm up against. There's 14 new subscribers in the last 28 days on my First Amendment Radio channel, on my Prophecy Reality channel. Well, I'm really unpopular. Like I'm losing, I think it said -3 last month. It says minus in the last 28 days today. So I'm actually losing subscribers over there. And I don't have as many on that channel as I do on the First Amendment Radio channel. So all of you that, I wish everyone would come over to Rumble. At least I'm gaining about 3 subscribers a day, 3 to 5 subscribers a day on Rumble continually. Yeah. So they're not blocking me over there. And I'm live 24/7 on Rumble with First Amendment Radio. So I wish you guys would all come over there. And because I wouldn't mind. Let's see. Also, my summary over there says, in the last 28 days on First Amendment Radio, on the videos that I have there, I've had 5,400 views in the last 28 days. Watch time, 1,600 hours. So people have watched 1,600 hours on the First Amendment channel on YouTube in the last 28 days. So, but somehow, even with, 5,400 views and a watch time of 1,600 hours, I'm only gaining 14 new subscribers in the last month. Of course, I can't put everything. I can't put half of my shows on there because they will immediately get stricken. And I can't speak freely about certain topics during this show at night if I'm on YouTube. So I think what I'm going to do, if I have to talk about something, is certain things, is that I'll save it for the second hour, and I may have to hang up on YouTube and say, come on over to Rumble. But see, I wish all the listeners over there would come over to Rumble and quit YouTube. I mean, I have to admit, I watch YouTube myself for some things. And because if you want instruction, there's a lot of good content on YouTube. But if you want news and current events, and you want to make sure that, you have an opportunity to see people out there that YouTube doesn't want you to see, well, you're not going to see me there unless you go there looking for me purposely. And then you might get what, they might unsubscribe you. Because I hear that's a thing that happens somehow accidentally at YouTube, that people get unsubscribed. Because I've heard about people like David Knight, his own wife, unsubscribed from him. Something a little fishy. Says, wow, I found far in 2008, 2009. SMT says, I'll go over to Rumble. I really like the way you put David Jeremiah false teaching and the way you stand on truth. Well, thank you for that, Scattered Sheep over there in the chat room. But I have Rumble, but I cannot text on Rumble. Well, I have a text number on the screen here. I also have a chat room at First Amendment Radio, which I watch. And Rumble, I can, like some people give through PayPal. Well, you can give to the producers on Rumble, and they don't charge any more than PayPal and then they send a check every month or every time it gets over a certain amount or every 30 days. So far, I haven't got a check. There hasn't been enough given to me on Rumble for them to even send me a check. Because and I can't get anything on YouTube. If people wanted to give something while they're watching, I did no monetization for First Amendment Radio on YouTube because I have too many strikes. Plus, like I said, they're shadow banning me on Google and on YouTube because they're owned by the same company. And they have been, like I said, since 2008. And in 2008, there was a coordinated effort that started on with, shadow banning in the search engine and on YouTube. And also there was a coordinated attack on the ground here with sabotage. And they had people here that were harassing me and engaging me in lawfare. And I was 7 years in lawfare against these people. And it cost me a lot of money. And it was a very difficult thing to go through. But I persevered, and for what? I lost all of my income, and it cost me several $100,000 to fight them off. And some of you were around for that period of time when I was going through that. And but here I am, like, can't get ahead anywhere with search engines. And because, like, I can go on the internet and, like, I can put, like, the exact name of my book in a search engine, and it won't even come up. There'll be 10 other books. Like if I go on to Amazon and I put in Secrets of the Rapture, well, there'd be secret this and that and 10, and there'll be like 20 other things, and you'll have to like go several pages before you find my book. Same thing on Google. If you put exact names of my book in, you likely won't see it for several pages. And that's how shadow banning works. And it works very well. Okay, well, I heard my tone, so I'm going to take a little break here. But I'll be back in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere. Secrets of the Rapture. Is there a 500-year-old conspiracy? A propaganda machine so pervasive and entrenched, yet so elusive that the entire world could be taken in by it, working in plain sight, but unseen by the world for what it truly is? If prophecy is God-given history in advance, why does the prophecy that has conquered the age also exclude nearly 2,000 years of history? What is it that they are afraid that the light of history will reveal? To understand our place in time and prophecy, we must look in history for an interpretation, that which stands the test of time, that which agrees with the Word of God, and history has proven to be true. When cunning fables and fearful speculations are removed from our sight, then we may clearly see what is truly expressed in Bible prophecy, both that which has been fulfilled and that which has yet to come. God's express word is the sword that must be wielded to remove the scales from the eyes and dispel the darkness of deceitful conjecture. Secrets of the Rapture was written to expose that which the spirit of the age has conjured out of the darkness to blind the eyes of the church in the world today. Secrets of the Rapture, deconstructing pre-tribulation dispensational futurism by yours truly, Nicholas Arthur, is now available at lulu.com and Amazon. Secrets of the Rapture.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Okay, well, welcome back. Everything is still working. Yay. All right, well, that's the Rumble report, the YouTube report anyway. So I'd ask you all to come over to Rumble where at least they have free speech for now. I don't know how long that'll last or any of it'll last. If the WEF gets their way, we'll all have the passport to get on the internet at all. So when that happens, or if that happens, or the internet goes down, then I guess I'll have to take to the streets. What choice will I have, right? Yeah, if the internet goes down for good, that'll put the kibosh on their new world order. All right, let's see, what else have we got here? Oh, geez. Yes, there's a religious news. What is this thing called? RNS, Religious News Service. They are very woke. I just have to warn you about that. But they got this, I just saw the headline of this. Ex-Catholics in Rome reconnect with roots. As Romans search for alternatives to Catholicism, some have turned to Jupiter, Minerva, and Juno. Yes, all Catholic deities, by the way. Yeah. So the mystery Babylon religion. It's all there. They worship it all. Okay, Trump-aligned think tank deny policy plans, gives voice to Christian nationalist views. And, yeah, that's some of them. But I think I'm going to run to, let's see, what else have I got here? Didn't really want to do our religious news service. Okay, yes, I have some good articles up here. Where to start? Okay, we'll start with this one. Why the excess savings ice cube is coming out of cold storage. Now, what would you think? You read that title, what would you think that article is about? The excess savings ice cube is coming out of cold storage. I think I know where that's going. Let's see if I'm right. Even if you put a lot of stock in government-manufactured GDP, owing to unhinged spending and deficits, which we most definitely do not, it would be wise to be careful about what you are applauding. The allegedly resilient U.S. economy, which is purportedly defying the Fed's interest rate raising campaign isn't nearly what it's cracked up to be. There was a hint of this when in Walmart's Q4 earnings announcement yesterday, in which it noted a choiceful consumer was spending less per trip and curtailing outlays for discretionary items in favor of low-cost necessities. And that admission was more than evident in the steady deflation of its USA comp store sales trend. That's the way I've always shopped. Choiceful consumer, yes, spending less. The figures in the chart are in nominal dollars, which declined by more than 50% between Q4 and Q4 23 and Q4 22. Admittedly, inflation has been coming down too, as reflected in our trusty 16% trimmed mean CPI. The latter posted at plus 6.6% on a year-to-year basis in quarter 4 of 23 and up 3.8% quarter 4 of 2024. Okay. Still, the math says constant dollar sales have slipped even more than reported in nominal figures. The inflation-adjusted year-to-year gain in quarter 4 23 was up 1.7% compared to just 0.2% in the period just ended. That's quarter 4 2024. That's the year we're in. Yeah. Good to see you there, Mick Rent. We got No Bucks, which is Bob from PA, and Scattered Sheep in the chat room, and Shauna also. Thank you guys for showing up. I appreciate it. I don't feel so alone. And I know there's people listening that are not going in the chat room. And that's the difference. I got a few people. I think I got more people. I don't know how many are listening. I'm not keeping count of numbers, but I know there's usually a half a dozen or a couple dozen in the Rumble chat room. Probably not on a Saturday night though, because maybe more sane people find other things to do on a Saturday night. They have family, or you can take your lady out if you got a lady and go out on the town, or go out visiting and fellowshipping and stuff like that. Who would want to stay home? Yeah, on a Saturday night if they didn't have to. Yes. Anyway, this okay, I don't know where this guy's going with this why the excess savings ice cube. I hope this guy gets to the point in this article pretty soon, because I'm starting to get bored with it. Okay, I think he's through a lot of the technical stuff there. Both figures are on the punk side. Oh, he said punk. In an economic article. Okay, but there is no way, no how, that the core Main Street consumer, who is a Walmart shopper by necessity, is in the pink of health as the stock peddlers of Wall Street and the Joe Biden puppeteers of the White House would have you believe. Moreover, for want of doubt, it should be noted that these marginal real sales gains were not due to the mighty Walmart losing market share either. The company reported its surging e-commerce past the 100 billion mark last year, and that consequently Walmart is gaining share in the nearly every category, according to CFO John Rainey. And another thing I never hear when they're talking about people are spending more, but maybe they're spending more, but they're actually buying less. So of course, in dollar terms, sales are up, while in product terms, they're down. couldn't that be? I mean, if your gain in sales is so low, I mean, it's got to be higher than inflation to actually show growth. So if your sales aren't up higher than inflation, there is no growth, is there? The only growth is in the numerical dollar amounts rather than real growth. I haven't read that in any articles, but that just ran through my brain. It makes sense to me. What do you think? Anybody? So what is happening is some of the massive amounts of government manufactured GDP, which flowed from 6.5 trillion of STEMI spending during the 12 months after March 2020, got temporarily placed in cold storage at household bank accounts. And since then, it has been slowly dribbling into the spending stream, thereby bolstering demand stemming from current period production and earnings. See, that's where it would come in handy. If the government gives you free money, like welfare, stimmy checks, perhaps that money should have an expiration date on it. Because if you had spent it right away, you probably don't really need it, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. So, but let's not give them any ideas because, I mean, they already have the idea as far as I know. It's where I learned it from. He continues. We think a good measure of this delayed stimmy effect is captured by the relationship between high-powered consumer spending accounts, checkable deposits in currency, and national income. The ratio had varied between 4 and 6.5% during 2 decades prior to Q1 2020, but took off like the literal rocket ship shape depicted in the chart below. So he's saying that people saved a lot of that stimulus money. Now, you know how much of that stimulus money I got, right? $0. Anybody out there get some stimmy money? Well, I guess if you're signed up as a client of the IRS and the Franchise Tax Board, then you want to get everything back from them that you can get. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, I would if I was one of their what do you call it? Clients? Are you a client of the IRS? You're doing business with them. So if you're in business with the federal government, I try not to be. I thought the Constitution was pretty clear on that. And so I decided to, stay away from it myself. Yeah. I think, but if you volunteer, then you have an obligation to your relationship, especially the longer it goes on. That's right. So you can be wise as serpents and harmless as doves and try to get out of that one. There was some guy on, where was he at, that was calling on people to stop paying their taxes. And he's got like millions of hits. He went viral on YouTube. I think not on YouTube, on X. Yeah, should have saved that. But you could probably find it if you know where to look. So as of Q3 2019, these spendable cash balances totaled $938 billion and represented these spendable cash balances from stimmy checks totaled $938 billion and represented about 4.3% of GDP. But by the peak of the stimmy tsunami in 2022, the figure stood at 4.8 trillion. Wow, and it's 18.5% of GDP. Okay. Households have told the Fed in so many words that interest rate increase or no, they are sitting pretty on the aberrational 4 trillion cash cushion. They apparently intend, therefore, to keep on spending the usual 96% of what they are currently earning, thereby causing the Fed's vaunted monetary break to essentially fail. And here's a chart. Have no household and nonprofit organizations, checkable deposits, and currency assets level gross. So that's what they're saying, is these are checkable deposits that people have a lot of money sitting in their banks and they're just not spending it. That seems to be it. But who really has all this? Who really got all that stimulus money? Who got 90% of it? I'm pretty sure big business did. I heard that Planned Parenthood got hundreds of millions of dollars in stimmy money. Not that they were out of business. I mean, they were killing just as many babies as ever. Yeah. And I think they charge for that too, don't they? Yeah. He goes on, needless to say, this vast lump sum of household cash didn't happen owing to a sudden lurch into a high savings modality by American consumers or any other kind of financial immaculate conception. The stuff was figuratively dropped from Washington's helicopters in the form of 3 COVID relief bills enacted between March 2020 and March 2021, which collectively flooded $6.5 trillion into the U.S. economy. And a lot of that did get spent, but a lot of it's just been, squirreled away. Yeah, apparently, that's what they're saying. Yeah. So I think I'm getting the conclusion here of where this article is going, but it looks like it's too long and too involved. I was hoping it would hit a punchline much sooner than that, but gives you an idea. There's a lot of stimmy cash out there in somebody's bank accounts, but none of it is in mine because I didn't get any of it. How about you guys? You get any of it? Let's see. All the 501c3 churches racked up in big bucks. Well, I'm sure some of them did, because most of your 501c3 churches are just small little congregations that wouldn't know a stimmy check from a hole in the ground. They don't have big lawyers. But now the big ones, the big corporations, yeah, I'm sure they have lawyers and stuff that would take advantage of that. Yes, they sure did. Yeah, someone else knows about that, so come on, call in and tell us all about it. And call me on Skype, Nicholas Arthur. You can be my guest on the show. Anybody. Yes, while I'm live, that is. If I'm off the air, you can text me anytime, and I will get your text and address it on the next show if it's addressable. But all of you are worth it. That's for sure. To me, anyway. So anyway, I thought this whole ice cube, the excess savings ice cube is coming out of cold storage. Now I get it. All right. I'm done with that article. That's from David Stockman on Lou Rockwell. Okay, this sounds like a much more interesting article. Misunderstanding both Lincoln and basic economics. And this is from the Mises Institute by David Gordon. Let's see. Our Ancient Faith, Lincoln, Democracy, and the American Experiment. Okay. Alan Gulzo has been carried away by Abraham Lincoln's magniloquent, there's a word for you, magniloquent. Gee, let's see, what is magniloquent mean? So magniloquent. Anybody ever use that word? Okay, well, magna could be big, but I think I'm going to look up magniloquent because I have no idea. So we're going to search for it and see if we can find out what, here it is an adjective that means speaking in or characterized by a high-flown, often bombastic style or manner. Yeah, big. It comes from magniloquus, the Latin predecessor of magniloquent. See example, says, okay, meaning, style, or way of using language is complicated, especially in order. All right, I'm getting the idea. Lofty style of synonyms, grandiloquent, tall rhetorical, given to rhetoric, emphasizing style at the expense of thought. Ah, that kind of reminds me of John Arthur. Any of you listen to him, you know what I'm kind of saying. How he emphasizes certain words. I'm going, I listen to him sometimes. I couldn't even do that if I tried. He's got a talent for it. I'll give him that. Or magniloquent speech. There we go. Now I know what magniloquent means. All right, back to the article. Has been carried away by Abraham Lincoln's magniloquent rhetoric. A historian who has written a number of books about Lincoln would like very much to believe that his hero was a champion of individual rights and economic freedom. Lincoln's ideal for America was of a nation with a large number of small businesses, allowing people to work independently of dominion by others or domination by others. Slavery was a supreme denial of this ideal and, as such, abhorrent to him. In a phrase Gulslow often repeats, Lincoln wanted an America with neither slaves nor masters. In this America, blacks would have the same citizenship as whites. Further, he claims, the complaints against Lincoln from detractors are wrong. During the war between the states, he did not act as a dictator. I think he did, actually, ruthlessly suppressing opposition. To the contrary, he acted with caution, anxious to avoid violating the Constitution. I think not. His warring against the seceding states would have violated the Constitution. You're not free to leave. Get back here or we'll blow your brains out. Yeah, that's not against the Constitution at all. Anyway, it's done me a favor. This Gulzo, how do you say Gulzo? It's a weird name. Gulzo has done me the honor of quoting me, but I was wrong to draw a parallel between Lincoln and his slightly younger contemporary, Otto von Bismarck. Unlike the great German chancellor, Lincoln was not a ruthless manufacturer of a modern welfare state. Okay. He did, however, realize that secession was a principle of anarchy. Constitutional democracy could not survive if it was allowed. Moreover, his military action against the South was a response to its violent insurrection and rebellion. One suspects that he would agree with Edward Everett, who in his oration of the Gettysburg, or at Gettysburg in 1863, spoke of the secessionist leaders as bold, bad men. Gelzo has the merit of raising a fundamental issue, but it is one about which he is mistaken. He thinks that a democratic order cannot survive if large parts of society conclude that they will walk away whenever they are displeased with the result, or, in this case, not even walk away, but assault federal property, namely Fort Sumter. The obvious question to ask him is, why can't it survive? Wouldn't the democratic order remain as it was before the secession, but with less territory? If the response is that people could secede from the smaller state, what is wrong with that? If he thinks that it's bad that states fall below a minimum size, and as I don't believe he's right, why wouldn't those who contemplate secession be deterred from doing so by its bad consequences? So far as Lincoln's devotion to freedom is concerned, Gulzo is constrained to admit What Lincoln seemed to find most objectionable about Southern demands to admit slavery to the rest of the Western territories was not their racial tyranny, but the likelihood that legalizing slavery would cut off access to those territories for white farmers who would not be able to rival the economies of scale enjoyed by slave gang labor. He certainly had no desire in the 1850s to tamper with slavery in the existing slave states, although Lincoln had often repeated his hope for the ultimate extinction of the institution. He clarified ultimate to mean somewhere off in the far, far distance. So far, as the reference to the 1850s is concerned, it should be noted that, as Thomas DiLorenzo has shown, Lincoln not only endorsed, but was a behind-the-scenes promoter of the Corwin Amendment, which would have locked into the Constitution a guarantee against interference with slavery in the states where it already existed. Guzlo also agrees with DiLorenzo that Lincoln was a devoted disciple of Henry Clay and his American system, though the two authors look upon this from very different perspectives. Lincoln sought to build up industry through supporting internal improvements and tariff protection for products he favored. His support was frequently characterized by corruption. Guzlo noticed that the Jeffersonians opposed these measures, but he presents the clash between them and the supporters of the American system in a misleading way. As he sees it, the Jeffersonians hated industry and cities, preferring neo-feudal agrarianism to the urban democratic culture, where every man had a chance to get ahead. The real contrast lies elsewhere between those who thought, and I guess I have to stop there because we've got music and I'm going into a break. So we'll finish this article when I get back from these messages. Don't go anywhere.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on satellite, internet, or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Arthur, and I'd like to introduce you to my latest book, Reformed Prophecy Interpretation, an apology for Reformed premillennial historicism in the 21st century. As with primitive biblical Christianity, historicism is the method of prophecy interpretation restored with the advent of the Protestant Reformation, and had become so widely held that for a long time it was called the Protestant view. My book is not so much about the errors of dispensationalism or amillennialism. Rather, it is about the historicist alternative to understanding many of the same passages from the vantage point of prophecy fulfilled in history. For those that desire more than mere hypotheses, bolstered with conjectured speculation, those who require explicit biblical exegesis and verified historical fulfillment, and are not willing to accept speculation as anything other than what it is. Speculation, not truth. This book is for you. Over the last century, this method of interpretation has become almost completely forgotten, even by Protestants, in the face of a method that is based almost entirely on future speculation, rather than fulfilled prophecy in history. In my book, I examine the reasons for this and investigate some of the prophecy which has been fulfilled in the interim, as well as present an apology for Reformed premillennial historicism to the 21st century. If you're interested in a copy of my book, you can go to my website, crosstheborder.org, and get more information there. Or you may also find it at Amazon. Well, I was looking at this article on Lincoln, and I don't know how many of you are interested in the debate between the Lincoln lovers, the ones that worship Lincoln, or the apotheosis of Lincoln, and those that are critics of Lincoln. And I'm kind of somewhere more on the critic of Lincoln's side. Of course, today, the Republican Party, Lincoln was a member of the Republican Party, and so there's that whole thing going on today with the blacks being freed from slavery, rather as a convenience more than anything else by Lincoln, rather than a choice that he wanted to make, but it was an expedient choice for him to free them. And something was happening in the world anyway. Slavery was dying anyway. So that's what this debate is about between DiLorenzo and this other author, Gulzo, who loves Lincoln and probably would build a statue to him and worship him like as if he was a Catholic saint, apparently. But he was no saint. He was a man. And I did hear that he repented after the war, that he wished he had never done it. And some people say that his repentance was genuine, and I hope so for his sake and for, because, God's forgiveness is pretty great. But what his motivations for the war are not the same as the motivations of those that helped him get into the presidency and the war. He was used, that much is obvious to me, because he had a certain stand. I don't believe that he ever thought that it would end up costing the lives of 600,000 of America's fathers and sons. Likely, if he had known that information, he would likely have never begun the war. Yeah. And at the beginning, it seemed like the South was going to win the war. But see, the South had no desire to conquer Washington, D.C. So they won a few battles and they went back home. Said, okay, well, we're done. You guys are done. But no, the North wanted to conquer the South. The South had no intention of conquering the North. So they just wanted to be left alone and be left free to go their own way. And that's where I think Lincoln blew it. But there were higher powers and worldly powers behind the scenes, and we all know what they are, that had been working for 50 years in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. was those higher powers' idea being the power of the Antichrist and his Jesuit army. They were the ones behind concentrating power in Washington, D.C. And that's really what the Civil War was about. Not even these guys know that, it seems. I guess maybe I'd have to write another book to blow both of these guys out of the water. That might be something to do. Yeah, the real reason for the Civil War. It's not what you see. But these other reasons, they're there, but they were secondary, you know. They were the reasons given for the people that they need, that wanted those things to join their effort. And that's how the Antichrist works. He gets his way. I mean, he was on both sides of the war. Yeah, he's usually on the both sides of every war, him and his shadow operatives. So we ended up here. The real contrast lies elsewhere between those who thought that economic development, whether industrial or agricultural, took place better through the free decisions of individuals, and those who thought it took place better through control by the state. Yes. And the North was very much in control. And they were, the war was over a lot of economic things and tariffs and taxes, and the southern states were really hurting from decisions in the federal government. Let's see. So the other author fails to see that answering the question of economic development requires the study of economic principles, such as the law of comparative advantage, which are the discoveries of the value of a value-free science. He instead looks at the tariff issue as a contrast between the agricultural and the industrial interests. Yeah, that's where most people look. But anyway, if you're interested in this article, I'm not going to finish it because it's probably boring to most people. I mean, you really have to be into this debate to, and it's not the direction I would choose to go, but for the Mises Institute, yeah, it would be. And usually they're pretty spot on when it comes to economy and liberty. Anyway, let's see what else we got here. Comments, question? Scattercheap says, eubonics baffles me. What's eubonics? Eubon? That's another word I have to look up? Or do you mean ebonics with an E? You mean as a colored language? Is that the one you're talking about? Say, well, hello, Shelley R. over all by herself in the Rumble chat room. See, we need everyone from on the YouTube chat room to go over to Rumble. Yeah. So, I know it's hard to change, isn't it? Yeah. But I try to watch everything on Rumble that is on Rumble and on YouTube. I choose to watch it on Rumble. And not only that, because I think I'm paying Rumble $10 a month. So for me to watch it on Rumble, there's no ads. And YouTube, it's just horrible. Ad after ad after ad. They stop right in the middle of things. No. Yeah. So if they have it on Rumble, yeah. Let's see. Okay, well, so there's that article if you're interested. That's at LouRockwell.com. And if you're interested in that kind of thing. Let's see. Of course, we should mock the state. Yes, should we mock the state? I kind of like that Donald Trump was mocking Joe Biden. It was funny anyway when a stand-up comic does it. And sometimes, I mean, Joe Biden should not be president of the United States, except that he hasn't been ever. Really. Not if it's the O Biden, Yeah, and that doesn't mean he's Irish. It's the O'Biden. O'Biden, that's not Irish. That just means that Obama's behind him and the O is sticking out. That's all that means. But yeah, he's not fit to be president. And fortunately, Obama's running things, right? But his fourth term's almost up. He wants a fifth term. You just don't know how you get it because it seems that O'Biden is not going to get the votes this time. He didn't get them last time. They had to cheat, but can they cheat enough this time? Because, there have been people working over the last 4 years on this cheating election thing. Now, whether they've done enough to overcome the cheating, I mean, they'll have those stupid machines, don't they? Yeah. And you can't question them because it's the response when you question them and say that people use their machines to cheat, then they sue you. And then they win too. Yeah. It seems that they won against a number of people that sued their company. And they got economic damages out of them, even though nobody stopped using their machines, apparently. I don't know why they're still using machines, but all you voters out there need to do something about that. Okay, once in a while, big government globalists inadvertently tell the truth. It's usually not because they're dumb, but because they're so entombed inside their own dystopian cocoons that they forget how crazy they might sound to reasonable, well-adjusted people. The World Economic Forum is filled with giddy zealots who have no idea how insane their plans for global domination sound to the wider population, because the WS psychopathic members are universally eager to depopulate the planet, cage the survivors, and drip feed their human pets with a cocktail of drugs, bugs, and propaganda. And this article is starting to sound very familiar. I think I might have read this last night. Did I? Mick Rent says, blessed thanks. Oh. Okay. I guess that's a conversation that I'm not a part of, or I don't know anything about over there. Anyway, did I read this article? Did I just read it earlier today a little bit, or did I read it on the air? I'm kind of losing track here. There was a time when Americans could look at some of the eccentric cult behavior taking place. Yes, I think I did read this yesterday, didn't I? Was everybody here yesterday? Okay, I think I did. So I'm going to, yes. And I think I might have read this one too. It's got a few tabs left open. Oh no, now I've run out of stuff to read. Well, I do. No, there's plenty of articles here. Guess where historians rank Trump? I don't even know what the question is. Don't you need a question to rank? The awesome punching power of Thomas Paine. Let's see, the dark and the light. We're not living in ordinary times. I hope he's not just figuring that one out, but we are not living in ordinary times. Let's see, how devastating would a modern day nuclear war be? Now that's an interesting question. Is it remaining respectful while being opposed by ignorance and experience? Oh, yeah, I get it. Remaining respectful while being opposed by ignorance and inexperience. Yes, that would be an art. That's from Dr. Joseph Mercola. He usually writes a good article. Biden moving to send long-range ballistic missiles to Ukraine. Yes, and tanks and whatever the number, 18 fighters are, or whatever the number of fighters are today. The myth of the middle class. Big Brother, war is good. And hey, they put Chuck Baldwin's Super Bowl Churchianity article up there. Yeah, I started to read that, and it was much about how pastors worship football. I've never been in one of those churches that he was describing in that article, so I didn't really find it that interesting. And I've never got excited about men in tights chasing a ball down a field. Not my thing, okay? Never has been. So the article just didn't resonate with me. But this one, how devastating. And would a modern day nuclear war be? Now that's interesting. So let's see. The U.S. government believed that about 90% of the world population would die in an attack with nuclear weapons. 90%. That's about what, the WF wants to happen. But I'm pretty sure they don't want a nuclear war because they're likely to die in it. Yes. And that all of their billions that they have in digits in the Antichrist banking system would disappear. So I'm pretty sure they don't want a nuclear war. What do you think? And all out, we're lobbing nukes, America at Russia, Russia at America and the European Union, and China at Europe and America, and nukes flying all over the world. Yeah, it doesn't sound like anything that anybody would really want. Okay, this is by Madge Waggy. Her blog. She says, this article is from my grandparents' perspective. Interesting. Before the angry comments begin, I don't mean anticlimactic in the sense of I hoped for more, or that I am attempting to downplay. What? I mean, did I miss something? Okay. Or that I'm attempting to downplay death and destruction, rather in a sense of being nowhere near the grand apocalypse, what we've come to expect. I grew up in the 1980s, and the prevailing opinion was that any nuclear world war would be the last war. Humanity would be wiped out, all major cities would be struck, the earth would be rendered uninhabitable, etc. This is so deeply entrenched in people's understanding of the world, it's never really questioned. There's the quote often attributed to Albert Einstein. I do not know with what weapons World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. There are, however, a handful of variables that make this outcome extremely unlikely. The grossly distorted public idea of how destructive a nuclear bomb actually is. I got angrily shot down in another answer on this topic a while back, with a commenter telling me a single nuke could cause an extinction-level event. No. A single nuclear warhead actually destroyed an area of a few square miles and causes damage to maybe a few hundred square miles. They're catastrophically destructive compared to conventional ordnance, but surprisingly local in a global sense. They don't even come close to the destructive power of some erupting volcanoes, and they're a pinprick in comparison to cosmic impacts from asteroids. A 3 KT airburst strike over downtown New York would leave Central Park with only light damage. 3,000, is that a 3,000? I think it means a 300 foot. A 300 foot airburst strike over. Okay, that's what it means. But he has a 3K, or is that a 3,000? No, that must be an FT, but the F is nowhere near the K on the keyboard. So I don't really know what that means there. It says a 300 KT. Kiloton? That must be it, which is 300 kiloton airburst strike over downtown New York would leave Central Park with only light damage. If you're inside the green circle, you're toast. The blue circle, probably toast. Oh, here it is. And the circles are not green and blue. Oh, the green circle's that little one, but there's no blue circle, so I'm not sure that he's looking at the same map with the same colors. But so yeah, if you're would leave New York, New Central Park with only light damage. If you're inside the green circle right there, okay, that little area there, he's saying you're toast. The blue circle, I guess means this gray one here, probably toast. Outside of it, you got incredibly decent chance of surviving. While there would be millions with injuries and burns, about 85% of New Yorkers would survive a direct nuclear strike on the city. Okay. Nukes are not giant plant crackers. They never were. It's a good job, really, considering there have been thousands of nuclear explosions over the years in various tests. The combined yield of all the world's deployable warheads is not actually as big as you'd think. And deployable is the operative word here because ... Okay, the Hollywood idea of a nuclear war is a sudden case of the fur flying. One missile goes, so they all go at once, and the world is radioactive cinder in an hour later. And as the U.S. and Russia have thousands of warheads, that's a lot of stuff in the air at one time, right? Except that's not remotely realistic. Having every available warhead loaded into an ICBM or onto a bomber and having them all primed and ready to go at a moment's notice just isn't how it works. A lot of those thousands of nukes are in storage, and there aren't necessarily the delivery mechanisms to get them all in the air at once anyway. And as the Ukrainian war has shown us just how badly corruption has undermined the Russian military, are we really confident that they could get all of their nuclear stockpiles stood up and launched in a matter of hours? Sure, both sides would get a decent amount of stuff in the air from submarines and mobile missile silos, but for a lot of the other stuff, they might not actually get them in the air at all because the idea that cities would be first is a popular trope, but makes no real sense. It's an evocative image, the Bonvillian-style computer with wireframe map of the world's program with variety of U.S. cities to destroy, but doing this would be pointless. Strategically, the first thing you'd want to knock out is the other person's ability to hit you, and that means targeting their naval bases, Air Force bases, known concentrations of military hardware, missile silos, storage depots, command and control centers, communication centers, air defense systems, etc. Your primary aim isn't to eradicate the human race, it is to render your opponent a non-threat. So a lot of the warheads or capabilities to launch them would be destroyed before they even got in the air because they would be the targets in the first volley. Beyond cities that contain strategic military base assets and possibly seats of government, population centers would be left untouched because going after them would be a waste of your rapidly decreasing ordnance. Finally, the most controversial one, nuclear winter. The general idea is that nukes cause fires, fires cause soot, and put enough soot into the atmosphere, and you block out the sun, reduce the temperature, and cause a collapse in ecology. The issue is, these models usually overemphasize the concurrent number of explosions, wrongly assume predominantly urban strikes, overemphasize the amount of flammable material in a city, and assume perfect weather conditions to get the soot into the upper atmosphere. The science of the nuclear winter is largely bunk, has been for decades, but no scientist wants to publicly correct the narrative because the fear of nuclear winter is actually one of the few pieces of propaganda that mutually benefits all sides. It overemphasizes the consequences and therefore the risks of engaging in nuclear war. It's in everyone's best interest to play along. Yes. Okay, let me see where I left off here. Everyone's best interest to play along. So what would it look like? You know, these are a lot of the same conclusions I've come to on my own because I've thought about it. And that's why I don't want to be near a military base or ordnance or missile silos or anything like that. So what would it look like? An engagement of a few hundred strikes, a tit-for-tat waves over the space of a few days, targeting military installations. It would disproportionately affect Russia, as the U.S. missiles defense system, while far from perfect, is more advanced and would be more successful at knocking some incoming missiles out. There would be frantic diplomatic work from neutral parties to try and de-escalate. When it fizzles out, there would be hundreds of thousands dead, predominantly military personnel. Hundreds of separate wildfires in forests and grasslands would cause a slight temporary decrease in global temperatures. The limited fallout would kill thousands in the following days and many more of cancer across the whole northern hemisphere over a period of several years. Despite this, 99% of the world's population would survive unscathed. In fact, most people around the world, particularly in the southern hemisphere, would spend the nuclear war going to work, going to school, and basically getting on with their lives. What do you guys think? Okay, we'll finish this article when we get back to these messages.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on satellite, internet, or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
All right, we are back and talking about what would a nuclear war realistically look like. I mean, I really hope we don't have one, and I've said that before, but it seems that Joe Biden is intent on beginning one, him and his NATO pals over there, the UK government and the EU government, as well as to the destruction of everything, including their own economies, their own industries, that and their green agenda. Yes. Seems like they don't mind destroying everything, including the people. And so there's a lot of talk about nuclear weapons being used. And, where I wouldn't want to be, speaking of population areas, there are a couple population areas I would not want to be near. I would not want to be near Washington, D.C., and I would not want to be near London, because Russia is defying the bankers and the Vatican, the Antichrist, defying both of them. And so they seems that all of the people over there in Russia are not real happy with Washington, D.C., or any of the Antichrist centers, although I haven't seen them really address the Vatican at all, but they do address the bankers, and especially the UK, which seems more intent than anybody else on really starting a war. They're starting their inscription right now for service. And Washington, D.C., I don't know. Yeah. So I wouldn't want to be in either of those. And what would happen if Washington, D.C. was blown off the map or someone dropped? I mean, that would be the end of the Antichrist power center in America if that did happen. So I could almost wish for that, except for I don't really want to see people get blown up and suffer all the suffering that would cause. But I'm not the one who wants war. I want peace. Yeah. Yes. Shauna says, can you talk about the beast rising up and destroying the harlot? Well, that might be part of it too, because Russia is really angry at two of the power centers, the money powers. That's why they're doing the BRICS thing, because the United Kingdom is really seems to be egging on this war, just like Joe Biden there in Ukraine. It seems like they really want it bad for some reason, and I think that maybe Joe Biden thinks that's the only way he can get it. Now, as far as the Mystery Babylon, the destruction of Mystery Babylon as it's foretold, the scripture expressly says that it will be the 10 horns that turn on the little horn power when that happens. So Nobug says, yeah, I'm not too far north. Well, you're in PA, so if, I don't know, you might want to move. Because Joe Biden keeps pushing. I think he may think he needs a war before the election as his only way to stay in power. Seriously, because if they declare martial law, call off he might just pull. That's what Zelensky did. Yeah, declared martial law, stopped the elections in the Ukraine, and then broke every promise he made to get elected as the president of Ukraine. Yeah, that happened. Or supposedly, because his election was after the lawfully elected government in Ukraine was overthrown. Then they had elections to put Zelensky in there. That is his name, isn't it? Zelensky. And that's how he got in office. Then there hasn't been elections since then. So it might be the plan. They might not think they can cheat enough because people have been working hard on making sure there's no cheating. So there's got to be some effect there. Plus, if they're not going to do the mail-in ballot thing, if that's going out the window too, then they might not be able to cheat enough. And that's what really happened in 2016. That's my perception, because Hillary thought she was a shoo-in, not because of her popularity, but because she knew they were cheating. But they cheated. But Trump won with such overwhelming numbers that they didn't cheat enough. They thought they did cheat enough. It always worked at that level in the past. So why? But when Trump came in and his populist support put his win beyond their cheating. And see, we know that they did raise the cheating in 2020. And can we talk about this on YouTube? I didn't see anything. I think you could talk about political stuff on YouTube now. And if they might give me a strike for this. Maybe it's hate speech. I don't know. I hope not. But I'm pretty sure that they cheated in such overwhelming numbers, because nobody, does anyone really believe that Biden got more votes than any president in history at the same time that Trump got more votes in 2020 that he got in 2016 when he won the presidency? That Biden actually got more votes than him or anyone else in the history of the United States of America? Does anyone really believe that, especially when the voting stopped and when they came back, the places were reversed? We all saw that, didn't we? So if they can't win by cheating and they know they're going to lose, then what will they do? And they have the military on their side, because you have to think about that too. They have the military leadership on their side. And so if they do martial law and roll out the military, say that's that's what's going on here. These are the possibilities. This is what they're set up for. Their last case, worst case scenario is that they'll have to call off the elections if they can't cheat enough to win. Yeah. What do you guys think? SMT says, that's what I was thinking too. Yeah, a lot of people are thinking that. But what can we do about it? Well, we can only hope, because it's the leadership in the military that are corrupt now. So it would have to be the lower down people would have to rebel against their leadership and join the people. And so we would have to be prepared to call on the lower the footmen in the military to quit. And if enough of them quit, then there's nothing they could do and to join the people. That would be our only hope. And I think that might be doable. I know they've been, they tried to get rid of all the good people in the military they could, but all the ones that stayed in got the jab. They're probably going to be, yeah. They might be having they might be physically debilitated too much to fight against or to be of any value, you would think. So, yeah. So, see, now I'm treading into dangerous Google YouTube territory. Speaking about these things. So, anyway, I'm coming up on the end of the hour. And if you want to, yeah. So that's what we're looking at there. And that is more realistic, because I don't believe there's any such thing as a nuclear winter. That's great to play out in apocalyptic movies and, those kind of movies. And where it's the end of the world and the rich people move to the clouds and all the people on earth are suffering, radiation illness and stuff like that. Yeah, you've seen them all. You've seen it. But that's great in movies, but that's not quite realistic. But yeah, you don't want to be in ground zero. So try to move out of ground zero. And I think ground zero would be the places she listed as well, but she didn't list Washington, D.C., or any of the other centers of government, because the second center of government is in Colorado. That's where they set up the alternate government in case Washington, see, they're even ready for that scenario. That they have it ready to set up and operate from Colorado, more in the interior of the nation. But, the enemies of America already know that. They know more than most citizens do, because that's kind of their job. They're intelligence agencies. That's their job to know that stuff. So if I know it, they certainly know it. So I don't think I'd want to be near wherever their alternate setup for government is in Colorado either. That's kind of probably why Colorado went woke so quick. Yeah, maybe. Because Colorado went woke like California. But I think a lot of that was by cheating in the elections too, as I've expressed so many times in the past, being over here living in California for as long as I have. Okay, and I like this statement. Nukes are not giant planet crackers, like nutcrackers for planets. They never were. Yeah, otherwise, we'd already be in big trouble. All right, we got 15 minutes left here. Let's see what else we got. Let's see, let me close this tab here. And we get back to how devastating would a modern day nuclear war be. It would still be devastating. It just wouldn't be up there like the movies depicts with, the whole world falling apart and cracking up. It makes good sci-fi, yeah, but no fun at all either way. Okay, what else? Biden moving to send long-range ballistic missiles to Ukraine. Yes, he is. Big Brother, war is good. Yeah, they want you to believe that war is good. Okay, we're not living in ordinary times. What else do we have here? Guess where historians rank Trump? Okay, I'll bite. We got a few minutes. Who are these historians? New York Times just ran this headline. Poll ranks Biden as 14th best president. Out of what? 48 presidents? He's the 14th best? He's 14th from the top, according to the New York Times? What are these people, crazy? And especially in New York, maybe this was written last year. Really? And it said, with Trump last. So Biden is 14th, Trump is 48th. Must be. Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. Oh, really? Trump last, huh? What a surprise. Yeah, no bias in this article, is there? I guess the silver lining here is that now they have to admit, at least comparatively, that Grover Cleveland and Franklin Pierce had at least some merits. Yeah. These rankings of the presidents by historians are worthless and stupid. That's the nicest thing I can say about them. On what possible basis could these historians be judging the presidents? Whether someone was a good president or not is a value judgment. If in a president you are looking for someone who will humbly execute the laws, you're going to rank the presidents very differently from someone who wants the president to oversee the ideological transformation of society. The sorry lot we call our historians love presidents who did bold things, even or especially when those bold things were idiotic and destructive. By any reasonable standard, Calvin Coolidge was a vastly better president than Franklin D. Roosevelt, and it isn't close. Even poor Warren Harding, whom we are taught to despise, understood economic issues, including monetary policy, on a higher level than virtually any of the talking heads we have to endure nowadays. Just read his acceptance speech for the Republican nominations or his inaugural address, neither of which any teacher ever showed you. It makes no difference at all what modern historians, whose ideological commitments are in general the opposite of your own, think about who was a great president and who was not. Their opinions are of zero value. They, just like their dumb, woke conferences, should be ignored. End of article. Yeah, I agree. It's good for a laugh. Anyway, just reading that. Poll ranks Biden as 14th best president, with Trump last. Yes, indeed. Well, love Trump or hate him, he was not the worst president we ever had. But he did one of the worst things that a president could do, and that was to lock down the country. Yeah. I don't think he'd make that mistake again. At least I hope not. Yeah. But, so who do we choose? Yeah. Well, I'll see. I'll see who the people choose, if they get to choose at all, which I'm not really sure. Like I said, we may not even have a presidential race. And for the first time, I always scoff at that in the past, but now I'm thinking, with what I've seen them do over the last 10 years or since Obama's been president, with what I've seen them do, now I finally think the time has come where I believe that it may be possible that they will start World War III and call martial law. And after all, if their puppet in Ukraine can do it, why can't they do it here and call off the election? Yeah, we'll see. Look at everything else they've done to stop it. Yeah. It's just, I guess they find it really hard to believe that people are not happy about Joe Biden. All of their regular constituents, many of their regular constituents, are fleeing the Democrat Party. The only ones that are sticking around are the ones that are really a lost cause, because they're for every debased and perverse cause that you can name. Those are the ones that are staying with it because they don't care what the cost. They don't care about, that they're destroying everything that is good in our society at the same time. And if they get their way, that eventually it's going to destroy them too. That once they get the society that they really want, that they will likely become its first casualties. And they can't see that. They're so blind. Okay. Okay, anybody, if you're listening to the broadcast here, I'm Nicholas, and this is Far Out, meaning First Amendment Radio Out. It's our last live program of the day, and the only reason I'm not doing it later is because it's already late on the East Coast, and those that stay up past midnight, which I would be one of those, but that would stay up past midnight on the East Coast, because I stay up past midnight here. Yeah. Takes me at least until 1 o'clock to unwind to the point where, okay, I'm ready. But I'm going to be here almost every night for this broadcast. Just want to talk about current events. Would like to have you on a guest if you have something to talk about. You want to give me, to give your 2 cents worth or $10 worth or whatever. Join the broadcast for 10 or 20 minutes. Yes, it's going on for 2. Oh, going on 2 here. That's right. I know. I used to live over there. That's why I'm not doing it later. Yeah, that's why I quit at 11, because it is 2 a.m. on the other coast there. So if I was in the middle of the country, it would be easier to do a late broadcast. But I will be here almost every night, so I want to thank you all for showing up. Tell somebody else to join you with the broadcast. Like I said, if you've got something to say, you want to speak for 20 minutes, I can put you on Skype, voice only, or we can show your face if you're not afraid. Like, I guess you have to be not afraid to show your face these days. And, and that would be pretty cool to have people come on and have a true fellowship here. See, I'm all set up. I've got these buttons ready to put a guest over here in this other box, and even by yourself in case I want to walk away and you can talk for a while. Your face would go in there, or at least the Skype symbol. If you know what the Skype logo is, that if you don't show your face, that's what we get. We get the Skype logo here. But, ta-da, here I am back. Yes, so tell someone about the broadcast. Come on back. I might not show up tomorrow night. Usually, we'll see if I have nothing else to do, but sometimes I have to spend time with family. And I like to do that when I can, but most nights that doesn't happen because I'm old, and my grandchildren are starting to grow up and become young people now, young adults. So that's what happens. Yeah. So, and I'm not married because my wife died more years ago than I like to admit. It's been longer, but I just decided I don't want to date because it was never fun, honestly. it was always a difficult thing, and yeah, so I don't really want to do that. That's just the way that works. Sometimes I think I would like to be married. I would like to still be married to my last wife. She was a great friend, a great companion, and she did a lot of things that I liked. Because she liked to clean house and she liked to entertain. That was great for me because I like to have people over, and I don't like to clean house. But that's just me. All right, that's the end. The end has finally come. May the Almighty bless you and keep you as you travel on the narrow way that leads to life. I'll see you soon. Secrets of the Rapture. Is there a 500-year-old conspiracy? A propaganda machine so pervasive and entrenched, yet so elusive that the entire world could be taken in by it, working in plain sight, but unseen by the world for what it truly is? If prophecy is God-given history in advance, why does the prophecy that has conquered the age also exclude nearly 2,000 years of history? What is it that they are afraid that the light of history will reveal? To understand our place in time and prophecy, we must look in history for an interpretation, that which stands the test of time, that which agrees with the Word of God, and history has proven to be true. When cunning fables and fearful speculations are removed from our sight, then we may clearly see what is truly expressed in Bible prophecy, both that which has been fulfilled and that which has yet to come. God's express word is the sword that must be wielded to remove the scales from the eyes and dispel the darkness of deceitful conjecture. Secrets of the Rapture was written to expose that which the spirit of the age has conjured out of the darkness to blind the eyes of the church in the world today. Secrets of the Rapture, Deconstructing Pre-Tribulation Dispensational Futurism by yours truly, Nicholas Arthur, is now available at lulu.com and Amazon. Secrets of the Rapture.
American Family News.
Administration is also assisting with the monitoring of the craft. NORAD fighter jet scrambled over Utah and determined it was not maneuverable and did not present a threat to national security. The incident comes about a year after China flew a spy balloon over the U.S. before an American fighter jet shot it out of the sky,